Did you actually make yourself watch this particular video from Logan Paul?
I did, but when I first started watching it, I thought this must be a joke because sometimes he'll post things that seem like pranks or over exaggeration or kind of just exaggerate the title. So I figured it must be something like he just faked this, which is, would be pretty bad as well. But then I saw it and I just could not believe it was real. It was just very surreal. And to see how long it had been up was pretty shocking.
There are rules, we understand, about what you can and can't put on YouTube, and this was a breach of those rules. Is that right?
Correct. This is definitely a breach of the terms of service.
So, would you think that it would be appropriate for him to do more than just take this video down? I mean, should YouTube somehow cut off his access for a week or 2 weeks or something? Should he have a ban, like a professional football player would have a ban for doing something bad on the field?
I kind of thought about that, and I don't know if that's anything YouTube's even able to do. I've never heard of anyone being like, temporarily suspended from YouTube. But I mean, in my opinion, I don't think it would be a horrible idea to just remove his channel completely for violating terms of service and, really make an example out of this.
So technically, YouTube would have to issue a strike, and once a channel has 3 strikes, YouTube can then make the decision to remove a channel completely. I mean, the thing we have to examine is that the Paul brothers and Logan Paul specifically generate millions of dollars for YouTube. YouTube has stood behind its most problematic creators over the past few years. YouTube, at the end of the day, doesn't care about negative press because their viewers are very tribalistic and they will just follow their favorite creators. So this, for them, is just a couple of days of bad press that they need to deal with. But Logan Paul will only continue to grow, as will his fan base and as will YouTube's community surrounding him.
What about their audience? I mean, are they all 12, as people seem to suggest, Kendall?
Yes, they're definitely young. Like you look at any of his conventions or meet and greets, and it's kids with their parents. It's mostly parents standing in these lines with their kids and buying his merchandise. There was one mom there that said she spent $1,500 on merch in just 1 month. So it's definitely a very young audience. It's pretty crazy that he would think to, it's just very irresponsible.
So he's like the Justin Bieber of YouTube, something like that.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. That's a good comparison. Except for Justin Bieber's not too bad, right?
No. We think Justin Bieber's actually grown in sense and wisdom as the years have gone on.
Yes.
You made a video, didn't you, in response to this? What did you do?
I did, and I wanted to, really do a video about the response and just the overall big picture of this is things are going to happen like this in the future. It's only gotten worse since I've been on YouTube. In 2012 is when I started. And I've just seen it progressively get worse and worse with, scandals or whatever people are doing that stirs up the media. And it's just disappointing. And I think YouTube's going to have to figure out a way to deal with something like this. And that's really what I made my video about. I think it's really important that creators speak up about this because we're all affected by this. And when people see, YouTuber does crazy whatever in the headlines, they just think of all of us under the same branch. So it's important that we all speak out against someone who just doesn't represent what YouTube's about.
And this kind of creative strand of YouTube now, Kendall, would you say that that's a majority of the space now? Is it people creating these kind of videos rather than, copying what they see on television and giving you a chance to see whatever it is you missed for whatever reason?
Yeah, I think people really like this kind of content. It's easy to watch. You can relax to it, just kind of escape into someone's life. I mean, it's the way that people like reality TV. It's the same thing, except this is even more personal and uncut. So people are really drawn to it, especially children. And most of the viewers on YouTube are kids, or at least a big portion of it, because there's a lot of channels that are marketing their work towards children now, even channels run by adults.
Gosh, it's a whole new, it's another world completely. Can you give us an example? I mean, of somebody who has shocked and thereby got big numbers?
Well, definitely Logan Paul, Jake Paul. There's one named Rice Gum who kind of makes like diss tracks towards other people, like songs about other YouTubers or just kind of dissing people, and that's been like really popular in 2017. And yeah, he's like blown up because of that. And
right.
Yeah, it's
sort of
harder
thing like there was an old pop song in England, Nigel is a moron. It's that kind of thing that he's doing.
Yes, and I think a lot of people watch it just to see it. It's like watching a car accident. Like they're like, this is so bizarre, but I'm just here to watch. Like he got so many views on that video, particularly because people were spreading it around. Oh my gosh, I can't believe. So people really enjoy things that are just off and kind of out there.
Julia, because this has got to such a kind of critical mass, is this any kind of watershed moment, do you think, for YouTube?
It's interesting because just listening to what you two are talking about, there are now news networks who are basically commentators who make millions of dollars to comment on YouTube drama. Drama in 2017, which is the sensationalized exaggeration of fake arguments that, exactly, lead to diss tracks or these types of things, is what YouTube is now becoming. And the old YouTube creators refer to this as the Vine invasion, which is influencers from Vine and Instagram, which were two popular social networks, now coming and finding a permanent home on YouTube. And I think YouTube is at, I use the word tipping point a lot. I don't think it's going to implode. Its creators aren't going anywhere because there's still no other website like YouTube. But it needs to really figure out how it's going to start curating content among its top creators and really start doling out harsher punishments for those who continue to break it. If you want to be taken seriously as a network, then you have to act like a network.
Really, this is an identity crisis thing. Are you going to now discover that you are a content producer and you're going to be a TV network in all but name, and start behaving more like Netflix, even?
So, I mean, that's what YouTube wants to do. YouTube is really pushing YouTube Red, which is also a concern among the creator base because the creators are saying, hey, we're the ones generating content and revenue for you, and you're not helping us out. Stop trying to push YouTube Red. And I think that's what the advice I would give if I was talking to YouTube executives is pay attention to what your creator base wants, pay attention to what they're asking for, pay attention to the bad actors, and worry about the rest of that later. Because if the creators are happy, your revenue will come. And if you're keeping a closer eye on the creators, then you'll know what's happening when stuff happens. There's no reason the Logan Paul video needed to stay up for more than 24 hours before it was pulled down. It was number 10 on trending. People were talking about it. And it just shows that they're not paying attention to their creator base when that's what their number one focus should be.
And if YouTube was a UK-based thing, people might be a little bit worried about Ofcom or government regulation. But in the US, nobody's particularly bothered about the FCC, are they, coming along and saying, well, that's enough of that?
I mean, the biggest concern with the FCC and YouTube is net neutrality and how that will impact creators. And that's a whole other conversation. But it is interesting the way that Europe, how Europe, the European Union governs harassment and hate content. And we've seen it with Twitter. We know that on Twitter, it's much safer to use in Europe compared to America. And that's not saying much. But if YouTube was a European company, it might even be safer than it is now.
Well, a safe space for YouTube. There's a worthy thought. Thank you both. Thank you, Kendall Rae. Thank you for being with us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
And Julia Alexander from Polygon. Julia, thank you too.
Thank you very much.